Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about some of my favourite rainy day recommendations. With it being officially autumn in the UK now, I thought with the rain that was falling this past week, it officially felt like autumn. But the day I decided to film this, it's nice and sunny outside, so I'm pretending that it's nice and cosy in a hoodie and a cup of tea, but really it's quite warm outside. But we're still going to go ahead and film this video because there's going to be lots of rainy days ahead for the rest of the year, so I'm excited to show you guys my favourite rainy day recommendations. These books that I've put together are in a completely randomised order, so there's no system to my madness. They're just books that I looked on my shelves and thought those would be really cute and cozy to reread on rainy days. If you're looking for rainy day recommendations, whether they're short reads, books are gonna transport you into different worlds, you've come to the right place. The first one is Fredrik Backman's And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. This is a novella, it's only 70 pages, and it would definitely take you about an hour or so to read this book. I read it in definitely less than an hour. This book basically follows a granddad and a grandson on their journey to kind of understanding what the grandfather is going through with his dementia. And it's just a really sweet novel about their relationship, and the granddad definitely, or Fredrik Backman should I say, describes the dementia side of the story in a really whimsical, fantastical way. My granddad actually suffers from dementia himself and is suffering quite badly with it at the minute, so this book kind of really pulled at my heartstrings, and it was just a really sweet read, and I connected a lot to it. And although I haven't read it in a couple of years now, it brings a lot of warmth to my heart, and I definitely think this is a book that you can cozy up to and read within a couple of hours on a rainy afternoon. If you're just looking for something short to pick up, I highly recommend this book. The next book I'm recommending to you guys is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This book is quite hyped on BookTube, and Blake Crouch is an author I feel like is quite hyped on BookTube as well. It basically follows a character called Jason who isn't entirely happy in his own life, and then one day he gets knocked unconscious on his way home from work and wakes up in a parallel universe where the Jason that he knows and has a family back home isn't the Jason that he's currently in the life that he's currently living, if that makes sense. It's all about parallel universes, jumping between them and living loads of different lives. I think this is a great book to devour. It's such a page turner. It's one of my favourite books of all time. I absolutely love the writing. I think it's such an intriguing storyline that you just can't put it down. So perfect if you have a free day when it's raining outside to cozy up in a blanket and read this book. It just makes you think a lot as well. It's definitely not a light-hearted, cozy, rainy day reads book, but it's definitely one that's going to get you absorbed into a new world and not kind of worry about the world outside that's all doom and gloom. You're just going to be transported into a world of doom and gloom in this book instead. So yeah, I recommended this book. I just think Blake Crouch did the idea and trope of parallel universes so well, and I highly recommend this book on any occasion, but especially during the winter months. I think it's a really good read to pick up. From a sci-fi, fantasy, dystopian type of adult book, we are hopping right into The Christmassaurus by Tom Fletcher. This is obviously a middle grade Christmas book. It's never too early to start celebrating Christmas. As soon as you hit October, you can celebrate Christmas. I'm giving you permission. This book basically follows a young boy called William Trundle, who is a wheelchair user, has a massive passion for dinosaurs and Christmas. His family absolutely love Christmas. They want it to be Christmas all year round. And then one winter Christmas Eve, a dinosaur from the North Pole comes to visit William Trundle, and they go on all sorts of adventures together, and it's just the cutest book in the entire world. It's one of my favourite Christmas books. I absolutely adore it. I first listened to this actually as an audiobook, and Tom Fletcher narrates it himself. There's songs in this edition. This is the musical edition, so there's a whole CD with Christmas songs, and oh my god, it's just the coziest book possible. I highly recommend you pick this up if you haven't. It's the perfect time to do so as well, because not only does Tom Fletcher have a new book out called The Danger Gang that came out on October 1st, perfect for Halloween, he also has one that's perfect for Christmas. So whatever mood you're in to cozy up to on a rainy day this autumn, I highly recommend The Danger Gang or The Christmassaurus. Tom Fletcher's writing is going to transport you into the most whimsical, magical world possible, and I highly recommend all his books. But this one in particular is incredible, and The characters in this and the music in this, if you get to listen to the audiobook or have the musical edition, the music just makes the whole world come to life. It's just incredible. I highly recommend this one. Going into another fantastical world that you can just absorb yourself into and forget about the real world is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I absolutely adore this book. It's been a while since I've read it, but I still remember so many aspects of it, which for me proves that it's such a brilliant book because I actually physically remember stuff about the book rather than just being like, oh yeah, that was a good book when I read it. So this book basically follows two sisters, Donatella and, what's the other name? Donatella and Scarlett. And basically they get invited by invitation to this carnival where you basically play this game, have loads of keys, go through loads of magical doors. Basically you don't know what's real and what's fantastical, and the whole time the reader doesn't know either really. It's kind of like a really good mystery, magical sort of book. I didn't actually like Legendary, which is the second book, unfortunately, but this book just sweeps you away in the magic and all the different twists and turns in this book to offer. It's so magical, and it's the perfect book to curl up with on a Sunday afternoon with a good cup of tea and just absorb yourself into a magical world. If you're looking for something that isn't middle grade, then I highly recommend Caraval, but I'm guessing you've already read it because it's a very popular, well-hyped and well-deserved book on BookTube. It's one of my favourites, that's for sure. We're going into comfort reads now, and with that, my perfect book for a rainy day is Winnie the Pooh. Obviously, this depends on what your childhood is, but I highly recommend picking up a childhood favourite or a childhood classic on a rainy day. Something that you know the world of, that you can just absorb yourself into, and like I've said with every other book, forget about the real world, forget that it's raining, and just have that like ambient rain sounds while you absorb yourself into a completely different world. Winnie the Pooh for me is such a comfort read. I love him. He's the best bear in the entire world. No one can beat him, and I just love, if I'm not having such a great day because the weather isn't very nice, to just curl up with a book that's familiar to me, that reminds me of my childhood, and this for me is definitely one of them. Also to mention Peter Pan and Wizard of Oz as well as Mary Poppins are some of my other favourite childhood classics, but Winnie the Pooh will always be my go-to. So yeah, definitely a recommendation for me to read a childhood favourite on a rainy day, but any childhood favourite I highly recommend. It's just that warm fuzzy feeling that just brings you comfort. Just think it's great for a rainy day when it's very cold outside but you want to feel warm inside. Winnie the Pooh definitely does that for me, and I'm sure it does for many other people across the planet too. And then I think we're ending on a very, very good note. Something that is short, sweet, great representation, just all round amazing. If you didn't know by now, I'm a massive Heartstopper fan. I think this book, or this series, would be incredible to read across a day. I could read all three in a day for sure. If I started in the morning when I woke up and it's drizzly outside, cozy up near the fire. I don't have a fire. I wish I did have like a fireplace. Grab a cup of tea and just binge this entire series. This book, if you didn't know, basically follows Nick and Charlie. If I've said their names enough times on this channel, I will say them again. This book is about Nick and Charlie. Charlie has been outed in school and is really struggling with coming to terms with being outed as gay. And then he meets Nick, who is not sure on his sexuality, but they make a really, really good friendship, playing rugby as Nick invites Charlie to go onto the rugby team for their school. And if you couldn't tell, more things ensue. This is only the starting point for this series. The second and the third volume are even better than the first. I think each volume just keeps getting better. And because they are graphic novels, they're such a fun, quick read to curl up with and just devour and just fall in love with so many amazing characters. If you're not really a fantastical reader like me and want something that feels like the real world but takes you away from the real world, especially now with the stupid pandemic going on, I highly, highly recommend picking up Heartstopper is a great book too, by the way. I highly recommend picking up Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. It's just a feel-good book. Wow, the sun. It's just a feel-good book. I'm really sorry about the lighting. The sun has just come out. Behind rain clouds, the sun has come out. So English weather drives me insane sometimes. And look, now it's come back out. Yay! But yeah, Heartstopper, highly, highly recommend, but I'm sure if you're watching this channel, you've read this book as well. So yeah, these are the 6 books I recommend you read with a cup of tea on a rainy day and just devour them, because they're all they all just give me like the coziest, fuzzy, warm feeling, whether they're because of nostalgia with Winnie the Pooh, whether they're because of great characters like Heartstopper, or because they transport me to a whimsical world like the Christmassaurus by Tom Fletcher. They're all just brilliant books I highly recommend you read all year round, but especially I feel like they're very fitting for the autumn-winter season. So yeah, what are your autumn-winter book recommendations? I would love to know, and I would love to add some more books to my TBR. So if you leave them in the comments below, your favourite book to read during this time, what would you associate with cozying up and reading a good book in the rainy season that we're currently in? I would love to know, and without further ado, I will leave you to it. If you like this video, what's my outro? If you like what you saw and like what you heard, please give this video a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.